Hey everyone, you're watching Friends List. Today is Thursday. I'm Alexa Ray Corriea, reporter, and I am here with opinions editor Ben Kuchera. How you doing, Ben?
Good. I'm feeling great. Good morning.
Good morning. How's the fam?
I'm excited. Everyone's great. Everyone's awesome.
Good. I like that. I like when everyone's awesome. Speaking of awesome, I'm going to throw a wrench into the works and present you. I have a problem, and I'm hoping that you can possibly help me fix it, work it out. So I am in a fairly new relationship, and we are both big gamers, and I want to know what kind of games we should play together since it's such a big part of our lives, and it's feasible that it's something we could do together. So I wanted to ask you what kind of games you play with your lady of choice.
It's a really good question, and you're starting off in a good place because you both play and like games. See, my wife does not play games.
Oh,
well, she plays games, but she's not anything close to what you would call a gamer.
okay.
So trying to get her interested in games and anything she's willing to look at is kind of a victory. But I think just from the base level, I think even if it's not designed for co-op, games you can play together towards a singular goal are really helpful. Like the Telltale adventure games are actually delightful to play with someone because you can both yell at the screen and talk about what choices to make and talk about what's going on. It's like watching a movie you get to interact with.
Yeah.
You know, if you put that up on the TV, it's so much fun to play with other people.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan when you're talking about a romantic relationship, iPad games. Because there's something about the screen is big enough that you can both comfortably look at it, and you can both you don't have to hand a controller over. You just reach out and touch the screen when you want to make a move. And there's something so fun and like intimate about like cuddling up with the screen. And if you're playing a game like Spell Tower, you can take turns tracing the words. Or games like Monument Valley, anyone can reach and make a move on the screen. That I think is really fun. But I think this also is going to speak to the other problem. You can't get close in terms of physical proximity, can you?
No, it is a long-distance relationship. He lives on the other side of the country. I see him very rarely when he and I go out and visit each other. So we can't, have forced iPad cuddles, unfortunately.
I like how it's forced iPad cuddles.
iPad cuddles.
It should always be consensual iPad cuddles.
Well, it's consensual, but like if you're going to play you have to,
Right. Yeah. So we're dealing with online games, which is a whole different thing to deal with.
Yeah.
When it comes to playing with other people, and I have friends all over the country, and it's funny that when we play online, it's almost like a way to hang out where you have an excuse to talk while you're doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost less about the game than it is the interaction, right? And the conversation. The same way at a backyard barbecue, you may be playing dominoes and just shooting the shit. And it's not really about dominoes. It's something to do with your hands and think about while you're talking about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I really like Minecraft or games like Terraria or Starbound.
Ooh.
Where you get to like share an environment and kind of work together, and you get like really excited when you're mining and you find something good and you can build things together. But it leaves enough space. You're working together in a low stress environment, and you have enough space to like talk about what you're doing and talk about your day.
Is it?
And it's a really comfortable game online, I think, with other people.
Okay, because my worry with games like Minecraft and Terraria that like when you're playing with someone that you're sort of attached to, you're building something. Like, what if they put a block somewhere you don't want it, and you get frustrated, and you're trying to build something, and they call a creeper on you or something? Like, isn't there like that room for frustration? Or like, how do you mitigate that when you're both sort of trying to build something, and maybe one person isn't doing the exact thing that you want them to do?
I'm really starting to feel like your therapist in a way.
Help me, Ben.
Because in every relationship, the other person will do things you might not necessarily want them to do.
Like play a lot
and
of
you
MOBAs.
might like play a lot of MOBAs. And you're going to get frustrated about it. And I think Minecraft, like anything else in life, it's all about, communication and sharing your goal and what exactly you want to do and your plan to do it.
Okay.
Like, I think it would be great if we built a 2-story house, and this is the way I want it to look, and this is what we need to do to make that happen, and then go do it.
Right. So I mentioned MOBAs already. He's very much into MOBAs. That's like his thing. Like he's like king of Dota land somewhere. Like that's his thing. And I am having a really hard time wrapping my head around MOBAs, and I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. Can you sell me on them or just sort of ease me into it? Like, is that a good thing that you should be playing with someone? I know it gets frustrating. I don't know. Help me.
Yeah, I don't know. MOBAs are a really tough thing because MOBAs, they're not like many other video games. You can just jump in and have a good time and start to work together. With
Right.
MOBAs, it's like chess in that the difference between very low level play and even moderate play is like almost a gulf of study and learning.
Yep.
Like you have to spend literally tens of hours of practicing against bots and learning slang and learning basic strategy before you can begin to be effective at games like League of Legends or Dota. Dota much more than League of Legends. So if he's saying that I want you, MOBAs are important to me. The time we spend together is important to me. I would love for you to play MOBAs with me. Okay, if he's saying that and he's sincere about it, what I think is happening is the onus is now on him to help you learn how to do that and to be as patient as possible through the early parts of learning. Because MOBA, when you're playing games like League of Legends or Dota with a new player, it can be very frustrating because if any player on the team doesn't know how to execute their very defined roles and understand all the different layers of the metagame, you could throw the whole team off. Like that's why the League and Dota communities are kind of known as being closed off a little bit because you have to know so much and prove like a basic level of competency before you can really enjoy the community and play with other people. So I think, the onus is kind of on the player who's trying to introduce the other player into the game to take a step back, create a new character, start playing with bots, and teach you kind of how to do it. My counter argument, and this is not really doable right now since it's in pre-alpha, start playing Heroes of the Storm. It's a much easier MOBA to get into.
That was going to be one of my next two questions. If you're saying that League is a little bit easier to get into than Dota, would you want me to, should I start with League? But now you're saying I should start with Heroes. So why do you think Heroes is a good starting point for someone like me?
Heroes is a good starting point because there's just less to kind of understand and to learn about. It has shorter matches, which is really helpful. If once you start making big mistakes, it's a lot less painful when you know it's going to be over in 5 minutes versus having to drag yourself along for the next 20 or 30 minutes. You don't have to worry about a gold economy. You don't have to worry about an item shop. The roles are defined. It's much easier to pick up and play and learn. And the overall strategy is much easier to grasp.
Okay.
So in terms of a starting point, Blizzard's been selling Heroes of the Storm as kind of like it's a hero brawler, much less than it's a MOBA title.
Okay.
And they've removed a lot of, I wouldn't say they removed a lot of the complexity because if you know where to look, it's still a very complex game. They've removed a lot of the moving parts. So on a moment by moment level, you have less to think about and you have less to worry about in terms of doing whatever it is you need to do. Okay. In Dota or League of Legends, you could be doing everything right and still completely fail on your build or not understand how much you should be farming and fall behind very quickly. Heroes, since there's less to juggle, you can focus way more on kind of the bigger things you need to do in the game to get ahead. It's much easier to get to a competent state.
Okay. Okay. I think I'll start with Heroes. I know I'm in the alpha. I have to tinker around with it more. That sort of leads into my second question, and this can apply to MOBAs or it can apply to if your loved one likes playing, Battlefield online, whatever the game is that you're not into and they're really into. I've been counseled against letting my significant other try to instruct me in something that I'm trying to learn. Would you agree with that? Would you not agree with that? Is there maybe like a line that they can teach you up to a point and then you should fly on your own? I'm not sure how to approach it.
It's tough with anything, and especially with video games, because like we're saying, there's such a huge jump in MOBA titles between like beginning players and players who take it seriously. Um, and so if you're asking someone to spend hours upon hours of instructions to get you to the point where he's comfortable playing with you in his regular game, that's a lot to ask someone, depending
Yeah.
on the stage of the relationship. And I think anything in any social situation, if you take someone who doesn't know how to do something and you take someone who's proficient or close to mastery at that thing and ask that person to teach the beginner, it's very, very hard, and it can be very frustrating. And this can go with cooking or working with wood or painting or even writing. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Anything that it I know it's tricky, right?
It's
Anything that
hard.
seems easy, anything that seems easy once you know how to do it and you forget how many steps there are to something very basic and how many skills you need to master. Like making an omelet, you have to understand everything from the skillet to how to crack an egg to how to season to how to use a whisk or a spatula. And it's like, if you go in, okay, well, you put the egg in the skillet. Well, no, like even that is like 10 steps
Yeah.
that take a lot of like physical skills to learn exactly how to crack the egg and egg selection. And my God, MOBAs are just as bad. There's a reason why some people make good teachers and some people make poor teachers.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of really good people out there who are really poor teachers of any skill. So you're asking someone to be able to break down a complex set of things in an already very complex game, explain it to someone they care about
Yep.
without frustrating either of them, and then execute on that lesson in a way that allows you to enjoy yourself playing a game. Because no one wants to be in a situation where you're just playing a game together
Yeah.
to kind of check the box off in your relationship.
Yeah.
If you're both not having fun, then find something that is fun to do together, and then you can both have personal time for game playing.
Yeah.
Just because two people like playing games doesn't mean they have to play games together. Although it can be a great thing.
Right. I've been on my own, like sort of reading up on MOBAs and trying to get it together, and I have expressed some of my frustration on Twitter. I'm sort of having a tough time mastering it, and he's like, "Baby, let me help you," and I'm like, "No!" Like throw my hands in the air, like run away crying. Like I don't want to like toss that complication in there. But sort of moving away from MOBAs, I did ask Twitter earlier today what games they play with their significant others to sort of get a little bit of an idea. And I would like to run these by you. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. A lot of people mentioned, like you said, the Telltale games, playing the episodes with each other. And that's actually something that we did. Wolf Among Us, episode 4, really good, came out last week. And we played it together, and I held the controller, but we made the decisions together. And it was really interesting having that, 3 seconds of space where the two of you are like, wait, say this, no, say this. And you're sort of debating it, like how you want the story to unfold together. So that was really cool. But other games, like we played Transistor, like we started Transistor together and we were handing off the controller. And the unfortunate side effect of that, and this also happened, we played Burial at Sea Part 2, handing off the controller, one of us was idle, and when I wasn't playing, I fell asleep.
Oh no.
So that the couch co-op doesn't necessarily work if we're not both working. A lot of people said that they play games like Gears of War, and Borderlands was a big one. Like shooting
Really?
games. Like what do you think? Like maybe with people you're in relationships with or people in general. Like do you think playing games like that online or whatever is a good way to sort of like connect with people, or do you think it's a little too cerebral? Like what do you think?
If you're playing couch co-op and you're both passing the controller back and forth, I think the really important thing is to make sure it's a game where you're both engaged at every minute.
Yeah.
Which I think that the Telltale games do.
Mm-hmm.
Because, every bit of dialogue might mean something. You never know when a big thing, like you're both going to be kind of staring at the screen while that's happening, taking it all in.
Yeah.
With a game like Burial at Sea or
That's when I fell
even
asleep.
even BioShock in general, that sort of game, it's like I could see everyone being very engaged through the stories and solving puzzles and exploring. And then once it gets to gunfights, like the other player can check out so easily during a gunfight because who cares?
I fell asleep during a gunfight.
Right, exactly, because it's such a mechanical thing. It's exciting if you're holding the controller. Watching it is just boring. Like watching gunplay in a video game, it's like it feels like poorly choreographed action film. It's like suddenly you're in Steven Seagal land. So I think if you're both playing the game, like Borderlands would be fun.
Yeah.
Just because it's another game that you can almost zone out while you're playing it and talk, right? And have those conversations. Because Borderlands is so mechanical. Not in a bad way, but like you can, and what's fun is like, finding new guns and comparing your armory, and it's like, oh, this one does fire damage. Oh, I love fire damage. Well, then you can have it, honey. That whole conversation, sharing your guns, makes a great way to bind those relationships.
That's
up.
how you know they're the one. They give you
your
rifle.
Your favorite gun.
A lot of people also brought up multiplayer platform games. I got a lot of Rayman. I got a lot of Mario games. A couple people said Mario Mario Kart. Yeah, I was surprised too. Yeah, I played Super Mario 3D World with my roommate, and her and I were frustrated as hell. Like accidentally taking the bell, kicking each other off the platform by accident. Like we were yelling at each other. What the hell are you doing? Like I can't play that with someone who I'm not like attracted to. I don't know how that would work out if it was like, I don't know. Have you tried gone the multiplayer platform route?
I care about these people too much. I won't play Rayman multiplayer with my children because I want to minimize the amount of time I'm yelling at them, Like those are the games you put in where you want to go to bed angry.
Oh my god.
I can't imagine.
No.
Like those are the games I would play with like my male friends when we want to like talk shit and beat up each other a little bit. Like I can't see it being a comfortable like bonding experience at all. My gosh, I'm shocked that people would bring that up. And I wonder how many people who brought it up have actually done it. Because it sounds great on paper, right? Until you try it.
Oh my
and then it's just god-awful.
No. I get road rage on like Rainbow Road. Like I couldn't do something like that with someone who I'm trying to like impress and whatever. Multiplayer platform games, I mean, proceed with caution. Play at your own risk.
I would throw those right out. They're a whole lot of fun, but I don't think they're the sort of fun we're talking about when we're asking for good games to share with in terms of a couple situation.
And the last suggestion that came up a lot, oddly enough, was role-playing games. Like specifically like Japanese role-playing games and like where you'd be handing off the controller to people. And like I have trouble not yelling at myself when I'm playing them alone. So I don't know how you'd tackle such like a big meaty story, nitty-gritty, detail-focused thing with a significant other. Like, do you think that's a good idea? Or like
I think it's a great idea because it brings in the ability to make decisions in terms of characters, what party you put together, how you respond in conversations. And if you're playing a game that has turn-based combat, it removes a lot of the issues you had with Burial at Sea. Because then you can both kind of, oh no, use this or use this technique. Yeah. And you can kind of make battles more collaborative in a little bit. I think that's a neat idea.
It'll be something to try eventually. So sort of to bring it all together, my initial question was, what do I do? I'm in a long-distance relationship, and what games do we play together? Are you telling me MOBAs? Is that the final answer? Or do you have
I don't know. I think trying to play MOBAs together is a high risk, high reward move.
Okay.
It's a fraught path if you're taking that. The other thing, have you thought of playing like asynchronous multiplayer games together? Something like Hero Academy on the iPhone, or even something like Words with Friends, or one of the mini clones, because that's something that it kind of injects this interaction you have with the other person throughout your day with very little pressure behind it. Like you get to play a game behind it, but it works on your schedule.
Okay.
And it removes a lot of the frustrations. Like, I think that could be a whole lot of fun.
You said Hero Academy. Are there any others like that?
I'm trying to think of what other good asynchronous multiplayer game. That's my favorite one. Or, you know, even just any kind of online Scrabble game, or you could play Connect 4 asynchronously for the you know, just for the simplicity of it.
Okay.
But it's a fun way to like almost check in with the other person throughout your day, because whenever you bring up the phone, go, oh, they made a move. And then you can make a move, and then
Make a move.
You know, make a move. So yeah, I think it really depends on the relationship. It depends on whether you're in close physical proximity or in long term. What I think is interesting about these conversations is that there's so many different ways to think about it and so many different types of games that it would shock me if there was ever a relationship that didn't have the perfect game to go along with it somewhere. The trick is finding it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the hard part.
Good grief.
But I will say this. And I don't know if your other half is watching this or listening or paying attention.
Probably.
If I was in this situation, if I were a single guy and I was watching this, I think it speaks a lot that you're into his interests and you're spending time learning about it to become closer to him in this way. Like, just the act of doing that, I think, is very giving and shows like you're willing to put work into the relationship. And I think that's what it's really all about. Like, as long as you're both like talking about it and taking steps to try to come together on what games you play, because that's really the secret, right? To talk about it and to try to see what the other person sees in the games they like. I think that type of sharing is incredibly important in any relationship.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
Glad to help.
I feel a little bit better after this conversation. I think I have an attack plan that will probably start with checking out Heroes of the Storm, because lowest common denominator entry point, it'll be good for me. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and helping me out. I appreciate it.
Glad to help.
You guys can watch Friends List on YouTube and on Polygon.com, along with all of our other really awesome stuff. And Ben, you wrote a really awesome feature on Heroes of the Storm, didn't you, recently?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, go check that out for those of you sort of wondering about Heroes of the Storm, since we talked about it so much today. And thank you so much for watching. Take care, guys.